Let's say, do the children have breakfast every morning? So why are we using do? Because we have children. And because children is plural, so we use do. But if you want to use does in the sentence, so all we need to do, we need to change children to child. It will be does, and then the child have breakfast every morning. All right? So in here we use does because we have a child. This is number one. Number two, which is so important, is the use of have. Why are we using the base form in both sentences? The reason is because if you have do and does in the question, the verb should be in base form. We should not use, we should not say, for example, does the child has? Or we should not say, does the child eats? Or does the child plays? No. Alright? If you have do and does in the question, the verb stays the same without any changes. No S, no ES, no IES for the verb. So you have to be very careful on this, because a lot of students make mistakes in these kind of questions. They simply look at the subject. If the subject is singular, so they change the verb, which is totally wrong. You always need to look at the question. If the question starts with, do or does, then the verb stays the same. No changes to the verb. When do we make the changes? If we have a sentence without does or do. Let's look at this. Here we have, does the child have breakfast every morning? We are using the same sentence. If you want to have the same sentence without does, it will be like that. The child has, and then breakfast every morning. So do you see the difference? In here, we used has. Why? Because we don't have does. Other thing that we need to look at is how to make a negative sentence. So usually, to have a negative sentence, we need to have not. We need to use not in the sentence, right? But there is one thing that we need to look at, which is, here we have the child has breakfast every morning. If let's say you want to say no, in this case we will say the child, this is singular, we need to say does not. So we use does in the sentence, does not, and then have breakfast every morning. So do you see it here? So what happened? We use does. Why? Because we have singular subject. So we said the child does not. We need to use not because it is a negative. So it does not have. So we changed to have. Why? Because we have does. Let's have another example to understand the whole thing in depth details. Children study every morning. Now the first thing that you need to look at is the subject. What is the subject here? Is it singular or plural? It is singular. It is she. So because it is she, then we need to look at the verb, the last two letters of the verb. The last two letters are consonant followed with Y. So in this case, we need to cancel Y and add IES. So it will be studies, and then every morning. All right, so this is the sentence. Now let's say, for example, you want to change the sentence into a negative. So what will happen? We have the same, she, it will be she. And because she is singular, so we need to use does. Does not. And because we have doesn't, does not in the sentence, so what will happen to the verb? The verb becomes study. Why? Because we can't have IES with doesn't. So in this case, she doesn't study. Becomes study evening or every morning. Alright? Another thing, let's say you want to change the sentence into a question using yes or no. That means we need to use does in the beginning, then does she study every morning? If the answer is yes, then we will say yes, she does. Yes, she does. And if the answer is no, it will be no, she doesn't. Alright? So this is the first part of the question. But if you want a detailed answer on the sentence, let's say you want to know where. We'll say, where does she study? Alright, so it will be like that. We use where in the question, followed with does, where does, and then she study. So it will be where does she study? If you want to know more details about the time, we will say when or what time, and then does she study? If you want to know more details about the things that she's studying, you will say what does she study? What does she study? And so on. So when it comes to detailed answers, alright, you need to start with WH questions, followed with does. This is the only thing that you need to follow, alright? And the same thing goes with do. If you want to make questions using do, all you need to do, follow up with the same strategy. We will say, where do they study? Or when do they study? Or what time do they study? So you just follow up with the same thing. We use simple present. We use simple present to provide information about opinions, about facts, and maybe ideas as well. Alright? Because a lot of students keep on asking me, like, when do we need to use simple present? So basically, these are the things that we need to follow to share your opinion if you want, or if you want to provide some ideas or some new things. We use simple present. So basically it goes with ideas, opinions, or if you want to talk about some facts, then we use simple present. Okay, so these are basically the things. Another thing that you can add, which is adverbs of frequency, and I have actually talked about the use of adverbs of frequency in this video. So if you have any questions on how to use adverbs of frequency, All you need to do, watch the video because I explained everything in depth details. And also there is another video where I talked about the comparison between simple past and simple present. So for further information, all you need to do, click on it to get clear ideas about simple past and simple present. Alright, so I really hope you managed to understand today's tutorial video, and if you have any questions on how to use simple present, feel free to ask me in the comment sections. And in this case, I wish you a happy day and I will see you very soon. Bye.